and welcome. Can you all hear me? So welcome, whether you are here with us in the church, joining us on the Zoom, hello Zoomers, or maybe watching the recording later. Welcome whoever you are and however you're feeling today. Whatever you carry in your heart and bring with you, cares, hopes, concerns, sadness or joys, you're all very welcome. And if you're joining us for the first time on the Zoom maybe, especially so. However we join in, each one of us is part of our community, contributing by being here, connected in spirit, and all are equally valued. We begin, as is our custom, by lighting our chalice flame as a symbol of our free religious faith. And if you are at home and have a candle, you may like to light it now. And today's service being for Palm Sunday, our chalice lighting, adapted from words by Elizabeth M. Strong, reflects that. We light our chalice to remember the sorrow, the loss, and the joy within this season. The Passover, which brought freedom from slavery and bondage for the Jewish people, continues to bring light into the world. Palm Sunday, Good Friday, and Easter, which brought joy and triumph of life over death for the Christian people, and still brings to a world so often dark and despairing the light of joy and love. And the lengthening daylight hours and new life bursting forth. Passover for freedom, Easter for life, spring for rebirth. And we lit our chalice for all three of these. I'd like to read you some opening words by Tess Ward, who's an Anglican priest, a hospital chaplain and spiritual director. And she's written a beautiful book which celebrates every month of the year and all the festivals within it. So these are Tess's words. A morning invocation. Divine peacemaker, you know the rising of passion that all that is not just. You know that peace comes not sweet-faced and false, but with a sword. Come with your sword of justice and cut away all that beguiles me and keeps me from seeing the truth. Cut away the layers I create so I can avoid all this. Cut away my shame when it binds me to another's power to humiliate and does not belong to me. Cut away the anxieties that prevent me from looking towards the world. Cut away all the tasks that I invent to shore up kin and kind, so I may remember my unknown family, who will go without today. Cut away the complexity of my daily doing, so I may love simply. Divine Spirit, bring us all your peace as we set forth this day. And I invite you to join in singing our first hymn. They're all from the Purple Book this morning. And this is hymn number 62, Here We Have Gathered. And you may remember that Anne actually closed the service with this last week, but I've chosen it to start this piece. we turn now to a time of prayer and reflection. So let us pause and hold in our thoughts and prayers all those in our own church community and in the wider world who are going through difficult, sad or worrying times, whether that's through illness, accident or bereavement, human actions or natural causes. We hold in our prayers all those who are subject to tyranny, persecution and war in too many countries around the world. We also hold in our prayers the many thousands who have lost their homes, their livings, loved relations, and we think too of those who have died following the dreadful earthquake in Myanmar. May the rescue workers find the strength for such difficult and troubling work. May those trying to escape any danger anywhere, especially vulnerable young families, the disabled and the elderly, find some kind of sanctuary and peace to wherever they go. And may the places to which they flee somehow find the strength and resources to provide what is needed. We pray that those who claim to be their leaders be blessed with compassion and wisdom to prevent further catastrophes. May we have the gift of true compassion to enable us to be with them in some way, however small it may seem to us, to act in a neighbourly way, to ease the sadness, to bring back a sense of calm, maybe perhaps even a little joy into their hearts. And may we, who have been spared such traumatic events, be ever mindful that each one of us will be touched by sad as well as joyful events, and may we be moved to offer comfort and solace to one another. And let us give thanks for those happy events which lighten our hearts. May we contribute to and benefit from the resources of love and strength which this community offers to us and to the wider community outside our doors. Amen. And let's take just a little pause for our own silent prayers and reflections. And bringing you gently back, I invite you to share in saying the universal prayer for peace, which I think will be coming up on the screen. So the universal prayer for peace. Lead me from death to life, from falsehood to truth. Lead us from fear to hope, from fear to trust. Lead me from hate to love, from war to peace. Let peace fill our hearts, our world, our universe. Peace, peace, peace. Amen. It's time for our story. And this week it's a reading from the Bible. It's about Jesus' entry into Jerusalem and the subsequent events. And Stephen is kindly going to read it for us.
The triumphal entry into Jerusalem, Matthew 21, verses 1 to 17. Now when they drew near Jerusalem and came to Bethphage at the Mount of Olives, then Jesus sent 2 disciples, saying to them, "Go into the village opposite you, and immediately you will find a donkey tied with a colt with her. Loose them and bring them to me. And if anyone says anything to you, you shall say, 'The Lord has need of them,' and immediately he will send them." All this was done that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet, saying, "Tell the daughter of Zion, behold, your king is coming to you, lowly and sitting on a donkey, a colt, the foal of a donkey." So the disciples went and did as Jesus commanded them. They bought the donkey and the colt, laid their clothes on them, and set him on them. And a very great multitude spread their clothes on the road. Others cut down branches from the trees and spread them on the road. Then the multitudes who went before and those who followed cried out, saying, "Hosanna to the Son of David! Blessed is he that comes in the name of the Lord! Hosanna in the highest!" And when he had come into Jerusalem, all the city was moved, saying, "Who is this?" So the multitude said, "This is Jesus, the prophet from Nazareth of Galilee." Then Jesus went into the temple of God and drove out all those who had bought and sold in the temple, and overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold doves. And he said to them, "It is written, 'My house shall be called a house of prayer,' but you have made it a den of thieves." Then the blind and the lame came to him in the temple, and he healed them. But when the chief priests and scribes saw the wonderful things that he did, and the children crying out in the temple, saying, "Hosanna to the Son of David," they were indignant and said to him, "Do you hear what these are saying?" And Jesus said to them, "Yes. Have you never read, 'Out of the mouths of babes and nursing infants you have perfected praise'?" Then he left them and went out of the city to Bethany, and he lodged there.
Thank you, Steve. And now Margaret is going to read a short poem about the donkey.
The Donkey, a poem by G.K. Chesterton. When fishes flew and forests walked, and figs grew upon thorn, some moment when the moon was blood, then surely I was born. With monstrous head and sickening cry, and ears like errant wings, the devils walk in parody on all four-footed things. The tattered outlaw of the earth, of ancient crooked will, starve, scourge, deride me. I am done, I keep my secret still. Fools, for I also had my hour, one far fierce hour and sweet. There was a shout and about my ears, and palms before my feet.
Thank you, Margaret. It's time for our second hymn. It's hymn number 178. Together now we join as one.
Pilgrim world, all on
I'm offering now a meditative reading, and that will be followed by a little silence and then some music. Be still in the silence and aware of the love within this place. For the beauty that awaits us at the turning of the road. May there be within us the wonder and the welcome of the living soul. For trials that await us, may there be calm strength, courage to trust when mists obscure the way, faith to venture when the issue seems uncertain. For a call to helpfulness, may there be quick sympathy and a ready response. May we find gladness on our way and the reassuring presence of helpers and friends. May we find grace generously to forgive and to seek or to work out our own forgiveness. May our desires be tempered to our needs. May we value and praise the simple and the lonely, as well as the difficult and the unusual. May humour and the gift of laughter be ours. May we be understanding, appreciative, reverent in our relations one to another, seeking to elicit another's best, and thereby our own. So be it. And a little time for your own reflections. And I wonder what you think of when you hear the words Palm Sunday. For me, it's Pussy Willow in full flower, and we have a few little pieces on the table with the flowers. Furry buds, and when they really come out, they shimmer in the spring sunshine, looking for all the world as though some spirit of the spring had given them a liberal dusting of pollen with an enormous paintbrush. Rather fanciful, I know. The idea was born from one Palm Sunday afternoon when, as a 6 or 7-year-old, my parents took me for a walk by the shores of the local creek where we lived. It wasn't in Plymouth. and it was lined with these beautiful trees, and they were all out in all their glory, shimmering in the sunshine. And for years afterwards, I truly believed that it was the branches of these English trees which were strewn along the path into Jerusalem, the path that Jesus took on the donkey, of which we heard earlier. I was happy on that Palm Sunday, some years ago. School Easter holidays had just begun, with the prospect of a glorious fortnight of freedom, hot cross buns at Sunday school, and Easter eggs from my family. And the memory came flooding back to me during this past sunny week while I was preparing the service for this Palm Sunday. As we all know, Palm Sunday is the start of the most solemn week in the Christian calendar. But of course, for Jesus, who was a Jew, and some people sometimes forget that, Jesus was a Jew, not a Christian. It was a few days before Passover, one of the most important weeks in the Jewish calendar, and I happened to see Jerry Sibley, the caretaker at the synagogue, yesterday morning as I was passing by, and we stopped and had a little chat, and he said, yes, their Passover preparations are just starting. It was on this day, described by Matthew, and we heard Stephen reading it earlier, that Jesus entered Jerusalem on a donkey. There were crowds of people surrounding him. They were very happy, ecstatically so, shouting, Hosanna, and strewing the pathway with branches torn from palm trees, not our English willows. And some were even flinging down their clothing. The whole city of Jerusalem was described as being stirred up. Many people thought that Jesus was the long-awaited Messiah who would lead them to freedom from the Roman occupation. All four Gospels carry accounts of these events with some variations, and I looked through them, and in fact it was in John's Gospel that the reference to actual palm trees was made. And Luke tells us that as Jesus approached Jerusalem, he wept over it and said, if you, even you, had only known on this day what would bring you peace, but now it is hidden from your eyes. The days will come upon you when your enemies will build on an embankment against you and encircle you and hem you in on every side. They will dash you to the ground, you and your children within your walls. They will not leave one stone on another, because you did not recognize the time of God's coming to you. And some decades later, the temple in Jerusalem was indeed destroyed. Such sobering words. Worse was to come when Jesus entered the temples, where many different people were preparing for the Passover. The greedy traders at their tables were cheating the pilgrims by overcharging them for animals to sacrifice for Passover. The money changers were charging excessively for their services. The poor especially were finding it very hard to pay for what to them were necessities. The parallels with our present day situation are hard to ignore. When Jesus saw the abuse of both the temple and the people, he was again overcome with emotion, this time of anger. He overturned the tables and pushed the greedy traders from the temple courtyard. This is our holy temple, and it should be a house of prayer, he said. But you have made it into a den of robbers. Certainly not the gentle Jesus, meek and mild, as a hymn remembered from my childhood described him. You could interpret Jesus' feelings and his reaction in more than one way. Firstly, you could say that Jesus shed tears out of frustration, anger and disillusionment at the way people had strayed so far from God and from each other. They had become blind to any possibility of the love and peace that were right in front of them. So he lashed out with terrifying predictions in dreadful detail about the siege and eventual fall of Jerusalem, including the destruction of the temple and the citizens. The people would endure the consequences for years ahead. But you could say that Jesus was heartbroken and overcome with grief for Jerusalem. He saw the people had turned away from the path of love and peace. Jesus wept because he knew that peace would not and could not come from conflict and violence. The reality of his ministry and all that was yet to be of his people and his land hit him hard. The tears came and he let them fall down his face. When he saw poor pilgrims cheated out of their scarce resources by greedy traders who put profit above everything and in the most sacred of places, he was undone, and not only angry, but also heartbroken, despairing, and disillusioned. And the people would also feel disillusioned when they realized that Jesus was not the leader they expected. He was not a soldier. He was not going to lead a bunch of rebels in a fighting force to take Jerusalem and the whole country back from the occupying Roman army. Jesus himself would have realized that that was impossible. And anyway, that wasn't his way. He was a rabbi, a teacher, saddened that his teachings were being ignored by many. He rode upon a donkey, as G.K. Chesterton has described. A donkey, a rather ridiculous animal, not the steed of choice of a warrior. While I was preparing this service, I came across this poem, and I thought it might, if you will permit me to read a poem during an address, it might fit in quite well here. And it's called Palm Sunday, and it's by somebody called Theodore Maynard, who lived in the first half of the 20th century. And it mentions Caiaphas, who was high priest of the Jews. He was a Sadducee and a bitter enemy of Jesus. At his palace, the priests met after the resurrection of Lazarus, which happened before these events, to plot the death of Jesus, lest the people should believe on him. The grey hairs of Caiaphas shall know the truth today, for kingly, riding on an ass, the truth has come his way. A thorn bush grows upon the hill, and Golgotha is empty still. Caiaphas waxes eloquent on tittle and on jot, but when they cry, Hosanna, Caiaphas answers not. A thorn bush grows upon the hill, and Golgotha is empty still. In the temple of Caiaphas stand 2 gold seraphim. They do not worship Christ, nor shout as the grey stones shout for him. A thorn bush grows upon the hill, and Golgotha is empty still. The vestments of Caiaphas with gold and silver shone. They would get soiled if he cast them down for the ass to walk upon. A thorn bush grows upon the hill, and Golgotha is empty still. The religion of Caiaphas is very spick and span. It does not love the ill-bred mob, the homespun son of man. A thorn bush grows upon the hill, and Golgotha is empty still. The dark soul of Caiaphas is full of sin and pride. It does not know the splendour or the triumph of that ride. A thorn bush grows upon the hill, and Golgotha is empty still. So thinking of the lives of the ordinary Jewish people, they were difficult, harassed by the Roman occupying forces. The needs of refugees from wars and famines in neighbouring countries added to their problems. And don't forget, Jesus himself had been a refugee as a baby, and so he would have felt for their plight too. Robbers roamed the countryside, so it wasn't safe to travel alone, as Jesus had referred to in his parable of the Good Samaritan. Jesus wasn't a political leader, neither was he a priest nor a scholar, although his disciples referred to him as Rabbi. His was the way of compassion, love and peace, but that wasn't what the masses wanted in a leader at that time, and how many have since. Eventually, at the end of a week which had begun so well, they preferred to let a thief escape execution rather than this man of peace. Whatever one's beliefs about what happened on Easter Sunday, and I think we all have our own beliefs, and that's to be respected. But whatever our beliefs about what happened on Easter Sunday, the legacy that Jesus left was an exemplary example of how inspiring is a life lived well. One could say he lives on in the example he set us, in the inspiration which has come down to us over 2,000 years. Our world is not so different from the one in which Jesus lived. There's still poverty, wars, famine, disease, and countless people fleeing them, and leaders not often blessed with much wisdom or compassion. As the UU Reverend Margaret Beckman says, what about us? What can we see? What can we do? What will we give to the cause of peace and justice in our world? Are we able to see the things that make for peace? Are we able to see that love and compassion are the way to true victory? Are we able to see that the widow, the orphan, and the refugee are our responsibility, and that justice calls us to love them with all that we have? If each one of us can do some of that and act with compassion and love to enable just a few more little children to be as happy and carefree as my 6-year-old self all those years ago on that Palm Sunday, then the world will surely be a little better on this Palm Sunday. Thank you all. I invite you to join in singing our final hymn, number 177, To You Who Would As Pilgrims Go. And I would say that we're going to pass around the offertory bag during the closing video.
City went, we not
few closing words by the Reverend Cliff Reed. From raised hopes to disillusion, from fellowship to betrayal, from gentle triumph to brutal death, this is the drama of this Holy Week. When we pass through it in full awareness of its timeless truths, learning compassion and courage, trusting always that after darkness comes the dawn. So go in peace.